When I was a young child, probably a year old, about a year old. It was a long time ago. Who said that? Was that Geneva? I thought that was, hey, as old as I am, though. I didn't say it. Anyway, when I was born, I was their first child, the very first child, my mom and dad. You know, that's supposed to be the privileged child. Well, I learned right off what the privilege was. When I was a year old, I had a baby sister named Barbara, and I got to be the one who went to the pile over there and say, "Honey, would you go over and get one of those for Mama?" So, you know, because I walked when I was 9 months. I was an achiever. Yeah. Well, my mother had this thing about being, with diapers. She didn't like diapers. My mother didn't get married till she was 28, and so she wasn't into that baby mode. She was into going into the office and being a stenographer. And when she got married at 28, I came along when she was 30. So she thought everybody ought to be potty trained by the time they were 12 months old. You know, we started sitting on a little toilet at 6 months. If you could sit up, you could sit on a toilet. And we had those little toilets that had that little swing thing that went over the top, you know. Little tray right there. You could eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner right there. And you got a real treat from it. You had this little ring around your butt that was almost like a permanent scar. Well, of course, when I was a year old, I told you I had to start working for my living there, getting diapers for the next baby, because there is something, you know a lot of things about me, but you don't know that I eventually became a 3-year-old dirty diaper dipper and dryer. I know it's a sad thing to think about. When I was 2, of course, there was only one baby in diapers, the one that was born. At 2, there were 3 of us. So at 2, my mother would say, "Joyce, take this diaper and put it in the toilet. I'll take care of it later." So, okay, that was easy enough. But by the time I was 3, I had to learn the fine art of dipping and flushing at the same time and not losing that diaper down the hole. And I did. My mother was proud of us, and being able to say to all of her friends that all of her babies were potty trained by the time by the time we were a year old. Of course, she was trained, we weren't. She just knew when it was going to happen. She took us one time to an exhibit, and there was a toilet there from an old German preschool. It had like 8 slots and a big thing that came over the top. So I guess kids all over the world could sit and eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner right there on the toilet seat. Now, before I was 5 years old, we lived in an apartment. And I learned how to wash those diapers too, because we had a big washing machine, and it was pink. And my mother would show me how to hook that hose up to the faucet in the tub, and we would just put hot water in there, and we would go and take care of the babies, and every once in a while he would go over the side, and then the people below would get to see we were washing clothes. And so she taught me how to do that. But when I was 3, and I distinctly remembered this, I know nobody has told me this story, but I remember going on this trip to California. My daddy had one of those station wagons with the wood on the side. And so he said, "We're going to go to California," because he loved California. He wanted to live in California, but my mother tried it for a year, and she said, that's no good for me. I love Missouri, so back to Missouri. I could have been a California girl, but I'm a Missouri girl. Anyway, Grandma went with us. Now, I thought my grandma had more sense than to go on a vacation with 3 children and my mother and my father. But she went with us, and there we all were in that Woody station wagon. And along the way, when Margaret, the third sister, who was still in diapers because she wasn't quite a year old yet, we would stop at a service station, and of course I had to do the dipping, And then we'd get in the car, and there would be these nice wet diapers. So my job was to hold them out the window. It was hot out there in the summertime. We never went on vacation except in August, to California through the desert. And all of a sudden, the wind whipped that diaper out of my hand. I thought, and my grandma turned around and she said, now the Indians have it. I looked out the window. I swear I didn't see a single Indian. I saw sand, but no Indians. I thought, what are they going to do with a diaper? Will they wear it like a scarf? I thought it was the end of my diaper drying days. But no, she figured it out, my grandma. She got the next diaper and she tied it around my wrist. So now you know my secret, dirty diaper dipping. That's just a little piece of who I am. I still have that little toilet, too. I've been to toilets all over the world, and they're all different. Some of them, they just give you a hole in the ground, and you have to squat. You better be good with your yoga and everything before you go to places like China or even the south of France. You think they're civilized. I thought because I'd been to China, I would tell you a Chinese story to fill out the rest of my time. And it's a story about a boy named Bang Nam. He was a basket weaver. He loved weaving baskets. His mother had taught him from the time he was a little child. And she would take those baskets to market on the weekends and sell the baskets. And one day she said to him, if you make a lot of baskets, I'll let you go to the market all by yourself. And you can sell the baskets and you can use some of the money for whatever you want. Oh, he was so excited. He worked so hard that week. He made baskets that were flat. He made baskets that had handles. He made round baskets. He made little tiny baskets. He made baskets that fit inside each other. He made baskets that were pointed that looked like a hat when you put it on upside down. He made beautiful baskets with different colors of reed. They were so beautiful, and at the end of the week, he had so many baskets. His mother didn't know how he was going to carry all those baskets, so she made him kind of like a big backpack and opened it up and stuffed baskets in there and fixed it on his back and then stacked those hat-looking baskets on top of his head and all of those with handles he put on his arms, and he went off. He started thinking about all the things he would love to buy when he was gone. Oh, he would buy something for his father and for his mother, but what he really wanted to buy was a writing pen for himself, like a brush with a long pointed tip. Oh, that would be so wonderful, because his dream was to learn to write. And so off he went, but part of the way there, he heard this rustle in the grass and this rustling, and then he heard this noise like something was fighting, like birds were fighting, and he wanted to see what it was, and he put his baskets down, and he went over into the thicket, and he saw 2 pheasants And they were fighting, but not with each other. They were fighting to protect their nest where their babies were, and there was a snake heading for their nest. Well, Bang Nam, he just picked up a rock, and he thought, I'll just make this snake go away. And he threw the rock at the snake to kind of scare him off. And sure enough, the snake didn't bother those pheasant anymore. He picked up his baskets and on he went. And that was the best market day for him. He set up his little stand. He sold every single basket, every one. Oh, he was so proud of himself. He had all this money. He hadn't seen that much money before. So he walked around the whole market, and he found some lovely slippers for his father. And then he found a bolt of cloth for his mother to make a dress. Oh, he thought his mother would love it because they were the colors of spring, and it looked like butterflies all over it. Oh, he knew she would love that. And then, after searching all the booths, he found one that had writing utensils, and he bought a brush. And he put all of that in that backpack his mother had made him, and he started home. But it was so late. He didn't realize it was so late. You know, he'd stayed too long, and it was starting to get dark, and it got darker and darker. And pretty soon he didn't realize where he was. He'd lost his way. He thought he really didn't want to stay in. He wanted to get home as fast as he could. He kept trying to find the path, but he couldn't find it. And then he saw a light in the distance, so he thought, a house. He made his way to the house, and he knocked on the door, and a woman, oh, was she beautiful. She opened the door, and she said, welcome to my house. I saw you on the path. I've been waiting for you. And so he went in, and there spread on a low table were delicacies like he had not eaten in a long time. There were deer tendons. There were dumplings. There were chickens. Oh, he ate and ate and ate until he couldn't eat any more. And he noticed that the woman had disappeared. When she came back, she was standing before him, all dressed in this beautiful yellow gown, and her long black hair hung around her shoulders. And she said, I have been waiting for you. He said, how did you know? She said, I was on the path this morning. You killed me. He said, no, I didn't kill anything. I didn't kill anybody. She said, do you remember the pheasant? I am that snake. He said, I only threw that to warn you to stay away from them. I did not mean to kill you. I didn't kill you. I didn't kill you. I didn't mean to I didn't. She said, oh, yes, you did. And that yellow dress began to unravel. And it became the tail of a beautiful yellow and black snake, just like the one he had seen on the trail. He said, really, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If I killed you, I didn't mean to kill you. She said, I have come back for you. He said, I need to go home. My parents are waiting for me. I need to go. She said, you cannot leave. You are mine now. He said, let me just go home and tell them what's happened. She said, no. Is there nothing I can do? Please. She said, you see through that window? There is a bell tower. If you can make that bell ring before midnight, your life is yours. And he started for the door. And as he started, she became the longest snake. She wrapped herself clear around that room, blocking every exit in front of every window. She said, "You must ring it from here." You are lost. So he started yelling out the window for help. He cried and he yelled and he beat on the walls. He thought somebody should hear me, but nobody heard him. He cried again and again out the window. And finally, he was so exhausted, he slumped to the floor. And he just sat there because he realized he was going to die. He was going to die. And she just lay there around the room. It got later and later, and there was a timepiece in the room, and he noticed that it was very close to midnight. It was like 1 minute. So he started screaming at the top of his voice out that window, "Please, someone help me, please. Please, I don't want to die. I want to go home to my mother and my father. I don't want to die, please." And just as the hand was on 12, he heard the bell begin to ring. And it rang, and it rang, and it rang, and it rang, and it rang. And when it did, that snake disappeared. And that house around him disappeared. And he sat there, exhausted. He fell over into a deep sleep. And when he awoke the next morning, he could still see that bell tower over there. He took his backpack and ran as fast as he could to the tower. And there on the floor of the tower were those 2 pheasants. Their beaks broken, their wings injured, but they were still alive. He scooped them up and he took them home, and his mother used all of her healing powers and brought them back. They found the babies and joined the mother and father with the babies again, just like Bang Nam was joined with his mother and father, where he stayed and lived a long life taking care of them. Thank you.